Welcome everyone back to BOYCOTT RADIO. It is a new episode. We hope that you guys are all good. And yeah, taking a recap of the previous episode where we spoke about the death of AKA, where we spoke about the Grammys and all of this. And actually, it was his memorial service.
Yeah, on Friday, I think.
On Friday.
Yeah,
and
it was on Friday.
It was on Friday, and he got buried on Saturday.
Saturday,
the following day, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, man, just some heartfelt visuals, that we experienced, the most spoken about moment of that memorial service was probably when Cairo was going around hugging,
Nadia. She started with Nadia.
Started from Nadia and just started hugging other family members and friends, probably close friends. And
yeah,
I guess what hits us the most is the effect that this is going to have on her upbringing.
Yeah.
The upbringing that she's going to now have to succumb to, especially how gruesome the murder was.
Yeah.
I even doubt that maybe she saw the footage.
I don't think she saw the footage, but most probably she owns a phone.
Yeah.
And eventually, somehow,
it is going to surface.
It will surface, maybe. Or she will find out,
how it actually went down.
Yeah.
She probably knows that the father was
but
killed,
how?
but in the manner that it was done, surely also that she might be aware of. But actually seeing it happen is probably something that she hasn't been exposed to as of yet.
Yeah.
Because she's still very young, and that's the most spoken about conversation right now. Cairo, how this is all going to affect her, and how do you go about such? I don't know. It's going to be quite tough for her to grow up, and also I think with what we've been exposed to as well, how upbringing has shaped us, taking into consideration the types of environments that we grew up in. I know that you grew up in Pale, or maybe you can just tell us your upbringing, and I also pitch in.
Yeah, I grew up in Pale. I was born here. Then me and my mom said to move to KZN for a while. So I came back Pale around late 90s, around 98, 99.
How old were you?
Since then, I can't recall how old I was, but I was quite still young.
Yeah.
Still, I was a preteen when I came back. So since then, around late 90s, I've been here all my life, and it's been one hell of a ride,
Pale, a township.
Pale, yeah, the township. There's been good times, and bad times, but there were more bad times than good times.
Good.
Because of the culture, the toxicity which goes around in the township. Yeah,
I think we both have similar stories. I grew up in Mamelodi, a township in Pretoria East, and like you're saying, the bad definitely outweighs the good at most times. Taking into consideration the gang culture, the violence, and all in all, what you are exposed to as a kid. I think there was also an interview that Maglera did, where he spoke very highly of the township life and all, but he mentioned that it isn't a place where you should allow yourself to die in. Or a place that you plan to,
or a place where you plan to have kids, grow up.
True.
Because of, you wouldn't want your kids to experience the kind of stuff you went through in the township, the bad things which you learned, And as we're speaking about the township, I recall a tweet from Major League DJs. They were mentioning that if you get a chance, move out of the township because of its toxic, which I do agree with him, But at the same time, there are good things which
you can't find anywhere else but Okas. True.
Yeah, the Lokasi is vibrant,
Yeah, too much.
And at the same time, I think every township in South Africa is like a belly of the beast.
Facts.
It's a lot of things going on, substance abuse, like you said, the gang violence, absenteeism of fathers, you know, alcoholism, and all that toxic, you know, things
it's
which are
very exposed.
Yeah. You see, that's the thing. You are easily exposed
to such,
compared to if maybe you're living in a very suburban area, like leafy places, like where life is
a bit hidden, and certain, you know, aspects.
Everyone is minding their own business
from the public eye.
Yeah, get what I'm saying? Yeah.
No, I get you. I mean, all in all, this goes to show the exposure, like you said. You know, you're too exposed to this life. You're too exposed to the bad that comes with this life. And I mean, I can safely say that I have experienced the best of both worlds. You know, I mean, I went to a primary which was in an area that was quite the slums. You know, to put it in simpler terms. And I mean, you constantly had your guard up. You know, after school, you are now calculating the route that you're going to take to walk home. You know, because you know that these high school boys or these guys, dropouts, whatever the case may be, are probably going to be at that corner today, or they're probably going to be elsewhere. And you constantly had to have your guard up, you know. However, that later transitioned to high school, where I was fortunate enough to go to a school in the suburbs, you know, Model C type and so forth. And the culture shock was real. Because now you don't constantly have to have your guard up. You know, you don't worry that after school
there's no gangs.
There's nothing, you know, because I'm telling you, you know, primary and everything, we were very exposed to the gang culture as well. And this gang culture infiltrated into the school, because the older brothers and the older siblings, the uncles and so forth, the kids were in the school with us, you know, so that eventually filters into the school, you know. And you know how kids are, you know, sometimes we idolize things that shouldn't necessarily be idolized. And now when you are with our classmates with a kid that his or her uncle is, you know, the famous gang leader and so forth, such is idolized. And unfortunately it becomes a norm for some people, and it doesn't become a predicament that people get out of, unfortunately. So I don't know, it's only
a selected few where you'll find that they do actually find a way out of that kind of life, you know, based on the education they receive from home, or things which they figure out on their own as they go through life, you know. But some don't make it out. They end up being entrenched in that life and that culture of blackness, you know. I don't know if
no, I get you. And I guess this also like goes back to what you have been exposed to.
You know, as I'm actually, I remembered an incident where one of my mates, his uncle had a gun. You know, it was stashed in the uncle's room. So this guy, my mate, found a way to access the gun, you know. So he brought the gun with him, then he showed us. We're all excited. Can you imagine,
it's a
bro?
gun. Hey, what do you get this?
And you know, the first thing we thought of doing with the gun was
pulling the trigger.
Besides pulling the trigger, we saw it as a tool which we can use to start sticking up people like this braga and all those things. You know, so as we said, it's the exposure
that you receive
in the childrenship, which eventually shapes you, who you'll become in life. Obviously, there are exceptions here and there. You know, and the intervention of parents also is important, especially the intervention of fathers. You know, if you don't have that male authority in the house, who is going to stop? Especially as a male, who is going to stop you when the time comes for you to rebel?
No one's gonna stop you,
because eventually it happens to everyone. There's a certain time or point in your life, male or female, where you'll want to rebel against your parents, because of you think now it's time that you can strike out on your own in the world. You know, so it's important, but you need guidance on that journey, because eventually you have to strike out on your own in the world. But if there's no guidance, especially from a male figure in the house, then You get lost in the streets, bro. We've been there. We've seen a lot of things then.
Speaking about the guidance, can we safely say that the township life and the people within it lack that authority over them? Like, for example, absent fathers.
Yeah.
Or do we have figures that are able to cater for that?
Yeah, look, I don't think people in the township lack that authority. Never call Joe. Like the adults in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Never call or don't do this, don't do that.
Yeah.
And even if Nerira lots of snacks, like maybe smoking or drinking, we used to do it like far away from where we maybe in the bush, because we knew if Uncle Mamang sees me holding a blunt, he's gonna whip my ass.
Yeah.
He's gonna pull up a belt and so we grew up in that kind of environment where even neighbors used to intervene in our lives to stop us from actually doing bad things which are harmful to us. So I wouldn't say they lack.
How about now?
Now it's almost non-existent because of how these young kids are so unruly,
yeah.
Unruly. I don't want to mention the age group, them.
It's that because
this new generation.
Taking into consideration that we both come from fairly different generations.
Yeah.
I have heard the chat that back in the days, even your neighbor would scold you.
Yeah.
And that was okay.
It was okay.
But now, it's almost unheard of.
Yeah.
I no Joe outside, to hold a girl, go and do whatever you don't care.
Yeah.
You don't care because I don't know how times have changed, but that's just how it is now.
Yeah.
The reality of how things have transcended from this authority that we had in the neighborhood, from elders.
Yeah.
Not just your neighbor, but every elder. You had respect.
Yeah.
For where you're at.
Yeah.
You had respect for the space that you found yourself in. But unfortunately now that hasn't been the case.
Yeah.
And like you said, it does mold you.
Yeah. I personally think parents, I don't want to say parents have given up.
Okay.
But I think parents are, especially in the townships, but I'm not really which I don't agree with. There's this thing in the township where if maybe a child is starting to engage in wrong things, there's this thing of no, leave him, let him or her find his way, and then at some point he will realize that this thing is wrong.
It goes back to the Zulu proverb which says "Likocho lisemanzi." You literally mold whatever it is.
Yeah. So some like I said before, there are exceptions where people are like young kids are able to escape from that life and turn on a new leaf, turn on a new chapter. But it's pockets and pockets. The rest baba bear until they become others, they become parents. Those uncles and aunties we see in the hood by they're always drunk. Etomile, when they were young, no one intervened. No one intervened to try. So I don't want to speculate on anything or say anything, but I think the teaching of like ethics, morality, like virtues in the township and black homes, it's lacking. I don't know why, but it's lacking because of I believe children are a reflection of where they come from.
Okay, would you say that you almost became a victim of strata?
I was a victim of Lotsa Strata.
You want to explain more on that?
Yeah, I was a victim of Lotsa Strata because of absent father, obviously. So the male figures you mostly see and who take care of you some way somehow are niggas from the hood Beloring are in wrong things, maybe spina or they're selling illicit stuff. Those were the guys who we went to when we needed some guidance.
Some guidance, yeah.
You know, so obviously when you know what these guys do, you'll obviously want to maybe try, because of you can see the quick money and the kind of fame they have,
how quick things are in the township.
The kind of fame they have, the kind of women they attract, the kind of clothes they wear, you know, all from
it's appealing
money
for a young mind.
Yeah, all from money or crime, you know. So an easy way out. Who doesn't want an easy way out?
Ooh.
You know, so yeah, look, I've been there, but some way somehow Mudimo guided out of it, you know, and then I've managed to evolve from that kind of life, and
then you didn't succumb to.
I didn't succumb to it, you know.
Yeah.
Even in high school, you know, the people you met in high school, they were on that tip. You know, we used to spend, like when the teacher was not around in class, we used to spend hours and hours speaking about gangsters from the hood,
idolizing them.
Exactly, idolizing them. You know, also speaking about Lenai, you know, once.
I could do this and do that. Yeah.
So eventually, I evolved, and you know, it's a journey. Yeah. You know.
I mean, and surely right now you also see like people that you grew up with.
Yeah.
Who succumbed to those pressures and
a lot.
That life. And
a lot. Yeah.
I don't know. Some may look to have it harder now.
Yeah.
You know, because of how not so rewarding it later on became. You know,
it's not sustainable at all.
At all.
Yeah.
At all, you know, just like I think there's a lyric, I don't know if you know the song Madais by The Words, where he mentions that bophelo ba dikhona zange ga bukhona.
No, I don't know the
song.
Bar, yeah, it's a bar,
and it's for me, like saying that I've also been exposed to that, you know, growing up in Mamelodi, and later on
Mamelodi compared to Peli, bro, it's like it's rough.
Do you think that Mamelodi has it worse?
Yeah, Mamelodi has it worse compared to Atteridgeville
now
and other townships.
Even now,
Bososha and Mapupan, Mamelodi is like.
When you look at mums now, especially with how crime has transitioned and grown, it's not petty crime anymore.
Yeah.
Now it's really heavy stuff. You know, your tenders, your all these heavy stuff in a way that
the heist.
Yeah, like these things are very. For the magnitude of these things that you know are at now, it also tells you what goes into it. You know, it's a lot that goes into it. The number of people and how gruesome everything is. And you know, now we don't have kids idolizing Maspinara. We have kids idolizing literally people who do these crazy stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like that's how crime has transitioned now, and petty crime isn't a thing anymore.
Yeah.
You know, it's nothing.
Petty crime is mostly done by these guys about Subanyaupe and you know, crystal meth and
that's for a quick fix.
For a quick fix, you know, but the heavy stuff is done by like professional criminals.
Professional criminals.
Body heist, ATM bombings, you know.
But it's
because let's be honest, being a criminal, it's a skill.
On its own.
Yeah, because there's a lot of planning that goes on in how to execute a heist.
Yeah.
Or how to bomb an ATM, or you know.
So you find that
especially cash in transit heist.
It needs careful planning.
It needs careful planning. It's not something you can wake up that
let's do this.
There's a lot of planning that goes on behind the scenes.
It's a skill.
It is a skill
on its own, and now you find that it's also these very educated guys who are getting involved in such. And like I said, you know, it's hard to pick your role models nowadays, especially in these environments that we find ourselves in. I mean, moving from Mamelodi going to Danville, Pretoria West. I mean, transition from a township.
It was a smooth transition. Let's be honest.
It was a smooth transition.
Danville.
It was. Hear me out. It was. However, there was still an element of gangsterism that I found there, you know. And
from who, bro?
Hear me out. It was okay. I think I moved there when I was doing grade 4 or 5. So now we get there and there are these Grootmans in high school now, you know. And it was a fairly developing place, you know. So everyone wants to know who's who's doing what, and because of that, like you say, if you're into like illicit stuff and whatever, you wanna mark your territory, right? I hear you saying maburu amola and whatever. If you knew the drug economy of that area, it's insane.
Now, who are the pushers?
I mean, the pushers are obviously those who are victims of the poverty, you know, because Danville is divided into obviously, you know, those who have always been there, you know, and us who recently started coming into the new developing areas and so forth. So those that we found there, unfortunately, were those that were well on their way to, like, poverty was killing them. Like, even now, when you go there, when you go to Danville and you go to certain areas, you will notice I didn't, you know, and that's when you find, like I said, you know, the drug economy there, and crime daso, because crime daso unfortunately also affects us, because growing up we knew that those who do like crime inchi usually they don't affect the community itself, like the Hayes Braga. I can't live up the street with Hayes Braga. That was usually not the case, you know. But now you find me going into Danville, and now it's not like that anymore. You know, now the crime is also inflicted on us, people who are part of the community. How it usually affected was that how crime usually affects communities, that Batuba Baling inside, like the gang leaders and so forth, the idolizing and so forth. That's how it usually affects community and whatever, but they don't, like I said, usually target the people in the communities and so forth. But now the transition into that now is, you know.
And how was like the integration, because of Danville is previously it's still a white suburb or Afrikaner suburb, obviously. The dynamics,
the integration of like all these races,
like dynamics are quite different from.
It's very exposed. It's in plain sight. You know, because you can literally tell demographically or geographically how everything is divided. You can tell that, you know, these Afrikaners, who unfortunately are the ones who are like quite succumbing to poverty and so forth, and then you can tell from us, you know, middle class income.
That imagine a black middle class.
That's how it is. And the integration is quite. I don't even think integration is the word, because it's quite separate. You can tell apart.
So there's no like intermingling between the races.
No, not entirely, because each group really does separate themselves from the other. You know, because we believe and so forth. You know, they are. Obviously, and that is the case, because usually the ones that
it's funny how the tables have turned, you know.
Literally, if you want to see tables that have turned, come to Danville, and that's people who know how the place is. So, like I said, going back to my point, you know, the transition and the gangsterism that we found there as young kids. You know, these high school boys are now, you know, in these gangs and so forth, and you're drawn into that life, you know, because now you just want to play soccer. But now, you know, these Grotmans want Banyaga scheme and whatever. And eventually that becomes a habit. It becomes habitual, and you become more exposed to these people. Because now, I want to just play soccer with you guys. Now we're just going to chill with you guys. We're going to roll our blunts. We're going to make fun of you guys. So that's how we sort of became exposed, despite it being, you know, an Afrikaner suburb, or a suburb that most people would deem as suburb sharp. You know, it's also quite rough in its own way, but like I say, you know, all of this just shapes your perspective. Because who wants to raise their kids in such an environment? Who wants to live their life and eventually die in such
kind
places?
of
So it's all in all that, you know, all that you are exposed to shapes and molds your perspective.
And on that, do you think kids can, like kids who are coming from like rough neighborhoods, like the slums, do you think they can resist the temptation of falling into that life when or if they were taught like morals and ethics, and
if they were taught,
like, for example, let's talk about me as an example. Maybe let's say my parents were conservative, religiously, like devoted to religion. They knew ethics, they knew morality, and then they instilled in you. Do you think, and being in an environment which is
like that?
Do you think like can a child resist?
I mean,
the temptation, like to fall into that kind of life.
Let's not forget how impressionable the young mind is. It's one thing to stay go high, and they teach you all these morals and ethics and so forth. And now when you step out of the house, you're with a group of young boys, peers, who deem certain things as normalities. That's why you find for example, these hobos, growing conversations and so forth from parents is that these people actually come from good households. They just chose a bad life and so forth. That's some of the things that are said. So is it easy to resist? No. Mainly being because of how impressionable the young mind is. It's not easy to resist because you're at your most absorbent. Whatever comes to you, you want to absorb, and whatever seems cool or rushes the blood, you want to engage in. Because adrenaline and so forth. It's these small things, like at Mamelodi, to the bicycle.
I used to
go see one and so forth. Go see three. Let's do that. So these things eventually they build up. So when you say resist, let's not forget what resistance does. You're not just thrown in the deep end and you're told to choose a certain life. No, these things build up. It come up from this small stuff. I mean, I remember one story. There was this guy. He's been in and out of prison and so forth. Lenyao base. And we were at the local tuck shop, Mola Moguling, and what I was sent to buy. And he takes, I don't know, for bloody mayo. Mayo, like that frozen yogurt. And he literally takes one and is like, hey, shove it down your pants quickly. Like, I don't see, shove it down your pants. So it's such things where so next time if you see, okay, I didn't do it because I'm in to heal and so forth, but had I done that and I saw the success, I probably would have thought, I can do that. So hence I'm saying, I don't think these kids or us were thrown in the predicament choose now. No, these things build up. Eventually they are habitual. And of course it gets to an age whereby if your frontal lobe cortex and everything is fully developed, then you can discern between right and wrong. Surely then you can know what's right, what's wrong, and the risks of whatever. But if you're young, man, it's easy to succumb to the load.
Absolutely.
That's my view.
But look, the township is the township. We love it.
It has its good.
There's a lot of good that happens in the township. There are heroes actually from the township, but the thing is, I don't think they didn't put themselves out there so that we can see them and emulate them.
No, I get you. I think this has been a very informative episode, and we hope to catch you on the next. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment, and most definitely share, to other listeners. And catch you on the next one.